And I mean, we've seen this, right? Nobody is exempt from challenge, from adversity, from obstacles. We all have it in our life. It's going to come sooner or later. That's what the 41 life is, though. Overcoming those challenges, overcoming those obstacles as they come at us and coming out stronger on the other side. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're about. We want to provide encouragement. We want to help people to keep going through those times, and we want to have some fun along the way. This is the 41 life. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 4. Thanks for joining us for another week. It's always fun to get to come on with you guys.
I can't believe we're 4 weeks in.
Yeah.
I feel like we just were talking about trying to start this like yesterday,
hmm
and we're already 4 episodes in.
I know. I don't even remember exactly how long ago we started the conversation of doing this, but it seems like from there to here, time's kind of been a blink.
I know. Well, and it's funny too because my mom always says everything starts with one thought. Like one thought to start a podcast, and then we named it, and we got software, and we got, lights and microphones and headphones, and then we recorded it, and then we released it, and like I don't know, it's just crazy how much can come from one thought.
Yeah, we're very much the type of people that jump into things too. Like if we have a thought or an idea, then we just go for it. We just try it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then that's okay. I mean, I feel like the only way things happen is to give it a good shot, and this was no different. But
Mm-hmm.
so far, we've really enjoyed it. And,
Yes.
at the end of the day, like seeing responses from people, and I'm still kind of shocked that anybody listens, not because anything else other than I pretty much came into this thinking I would make a mess of it, and so far that's not been the case. I knew Devin would do great, but
I don't know. I knew you would do great.
well,
You've got some media training.
I do have a little. I know how to give good answers, or let me rephrase that. I know how to give like the right answers that sound good, like all that. But when you're diving into like personal life and real things, and you're trying to make sure you're being honest and open as you're going, that I don't know that there's training necessarily for that. So it's been fun. It's been challenging at times. We're here though. We're doing
Yep.
it.
Yep. And I will preface this episode with saying that the cold that you had last week, I have now.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming for me because every day at work, a different girl would come in sick. So I knew it was coming for me. It was a matter of time, and then you got it. And now I'm overcoming it now, but it's still lingering a bit. So,
Yeah, I still have a little congestion too. I think I sound a little bit better than last week, which is good. But I don't know that I ever sound good. Personally, I kind of hate my voice.
well, I will say listening to these back, it's terrible listening to your own voice.
Yeah.
Like, I want to listen to it obviously to make sure like I didn't make a fool of myself somewhere, but listening to my voice is so hard.
Yes, I agree. I don't know anybody that really thinks that highly of their own voice.
Yeah.
And if they do, that's probably some type of speaking industry that they're in, and they have a profession in that for a reason. So, yeah,
Or maybe if you're just used to hearing your voice.
that too. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, to get started, we thought something that would be fun is if we asked each other a couple questions. It's table topics. So I have a question and David has a question. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask him, and I don't know what he's going to ask me.
Yep.
But we thought it would be fun if you guys answered the questions as well in the comments,
Yeah.
because I think that would be really cool to get to know you guys a little bit. And yeah,
And you guys get to know us a little
even though
bit.
you're getting to know us already, you're getting to know every detail.
Yeah, but no, it's in a different way. Like it's different. The story that can sound very, if we really wanted to, we don't do this, but if we really wanted to, we could probably, write out the layout, the script of what we're going to go through, and
Which someone asked us the other day if that's what we do, and we do not. We totally wing it.
yeah,
We kind of know like the big topics we're going to talk about, but other than that, it just kind of rolls and we see
Yeah.
where it takes us. So,
Yeah, it's helpful when you live it yourself, though, and you're telling things that you've experienced and have maybe been a pretty big part of your life for the last few years. So that definitely helps out. But if anything, at any point, maybe sounds a little uh, off the cuff, particularly for me, that's probably why. But yeah, that another little behind the scenes. So yeah, table topics. We'll do a question, and we talked about maybe doing two. We don't want to take up too much time with this, but just wanted to have a little fun with it to get started. So I'll go first if that
bet.
works for you. Normally it's ladies first, but we're going backwards on here. This is a very good one.
Okay, I'm kind of scared.
Um, do you mind being teased by your family? I want to add on and friends.
I would not survive in my family. That's how we communicate with each other. My poor dad, I don't know why he gets it the most. I've actually tried to be more, we were talking about this, I've been trying to be more complimentary of him when I like see things that he does well or whatever
Hmm.
because we roast him so much. But he roasts us too, so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it very much is, I think, part of just your family culture and extended family. It's not
Yeah.
just immediate family. It's
We
the
make fun of each other.
yeah,
Keeps
yeah.
you humble.
You have to. I mean, especially like we've talked about it on here when you're going through stuff, especially that's when got to keep it light because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and I think we've probably seen that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What was your favorite year in school? College can be included.
If college can be
I say that because
included,
I kind of know the answer. I feel like I know what your answer is going to be.
if college can be included, then I think without a doubt it was my junior year of college.
Probably because that's when you met me.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
I
There was
mean,
just a lot that happened
that's
at that
not
time.
happening. We know that's why.
We met the summer before my junior year,
Yeah.
and if you're going summer to summer, I got drafted the following summer, so that was technically
Hmm.
still part of that, year long time. I don't remember somehow I don't remember classes being terrible. Like that was a, you know, you're kind of used to being on campus. Like it was a good. I mean, college is typically people either love it or hate it. I had a very good college experience. I really enjoyed it, but
Hmm.
junior year I think was the
Was the
best
best.
time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
All right. So you guys follow up and let us know in the comments what was y'all's favorite year, including college,
Okay.
of what was it of your
Of
your educational time,
yes,
whether that was, you know,
your
elementary school,
educational
middle
time.
school, high school, college, like whatever it was for you guys, let us know. And personally, I would really like to know if
Does
it,
your family roast you?
yeah, is Devin's family dynamic the norm
Yeah.
or is it not the norm? And I know that some of them will be listening to this, so I know they will be eager to hear that as well. But
Yeah.
yep, so
We would
we'll
love to hear.
yes, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. But last week we left off. I had just gotten to the emergency room, and we're gonna pick up there. But as Devin and I were talking about kind of how we wanted to approach this week and what we wanted to talk about, we realized that there was another very big life event that was happening and had been kind of leading up at the same time that this whole diagnosis process was happening, and pretty much at the same time that I got to the emergency room was starting to formulate into a little bit more solidity, I guess. Like it was starting to kind of come to a head. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we mentioned a couple times that I own a small business and I own a boutique, and it is called Lizard Thicket Greenville Boutique. And it's actually a franchise, which I feel like is super unique for a clothing store. And I love it. It is my dream, and I love the brand and I love the company. But what makes it so unique is with the franchise, basically, I own my own company. And then I pay royalties to Lizard Thicket to use like their name and their buyer and their like marketing girl and just there's so many things that the company like provides. Things that I personally feel like I'm not that good at.
Mhm.
What I love the most about my boutique is like merchandising and like running a team and interacting with customers every day. And so I get to do that stuff, and then I get to lean on this team that like does all this stuff that I'm not super educated in, and they're just like so good at it. Um,
There's a reason it's a franchise and they have
yeah,
the location count that they
like
do. Like
20
they're,
something locations, like more are popping up. Yeah,
yeah, so they're doing something right.
exactly. Yeah. So, I guess we need to go all the way back. Um, I have literally wanted to own my own clothing store since I was a little girl.
She said all the way
All
back.
the way back. It was between that and being a country singer. I mean, we know I could have done both.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I can't hardly
I,
carry a tune. But
you
I've
made the right choice.
I've always wanted to own my own boutique. And it's so funny because I don't remember if it was me and you talking about this or someone else, but elementary school, I don't know if it was like someone came in to talk to us or like if my mom had heard about this somewhere, but basically the career center in town was hosting this summer camp where you got to go. It was like every day. I mean, it was like a long day. Like they provided us lunch and stuff. I don't remember how long it lasted, but you go and you would learn how to open up your own business. Like you would learn about like budgeting and marketing. Like I got to name my, of course, I opened up a boutique, but I just have this vivid memory of my mom being like telling her I want to go do this camp, elementary school, and her
It was
being
early
like,
elementary school too,
yeah,
right?
I feel like it was like third grade.
Yeah.
I could be off, but I feel like it was third grade.
Yeah.
Maybe fourth. And she was like, "Don't you want to go to the pool? Like summer is here, like school's getting out, and you want to go to the career center every day?" Like, and I was like, "Mom, I've got to go open this business. Like,
And I got to do it next week.
I have to do this
Don't
now."
you don't you know I'm in third grade? It's time for me to start pulling my weight, mom.
Exactly. So I went to this career center, and I still remember the room. Like, I remember everything, but we had to like name our business, and I did it with two other girls. My childhood best friend was in it with me, which is so funny because she owns her own business now too, her own boutique. And I remember we like made signs and like we made this poster board, and I hung the poster board up in my room. It stayed in my room like all through middle school. I was so proud of it. And at the end of the camp, we like had our store set up, and like our parents came and like I don't know where we got the stuff or what was in there exactly, but our parents came to our store. Um, and I just have a memory of like it being like lunch break at that camp and me sitting like on a concrete slab outside eating a cheese sandwich.
I was just about to ask. I feel like every camp
Yeah.
that you go to, well, and now it seems like it's Chick-fil-A caters
Yeah.
everything,
That would have been nice.
which is a huge upgrade
Yeah.
because it used to
Yeah.
be like, maybe you were lucky to get one slice of deli meat, but it
Yeah.
was pretty much like the craft
Yeah, we would
cheese
get a paper
sandwiches.
bag and I would eat my little cheese sandwich and I was just having a good old time. But yeah, I knew I wanted to own my own boutique since I was little. And my mom's best friend, her childhood best friend, opened up a consignment store when I was in elementary school, and I remember like going to visit her consignment store and like just being in awe of it. And then my childhood best friend's mom owned an interior design business, and I was just in awe of that. And like, it was just something that I had always kind of like had my heart set on. But when it came time to go to school and like actually kind of figure out what kind of career I wanted to have, I was just like, there's no way I can do that. Like, I don't have it in me because, starting your own business is very much so like you're kind of getting out what you put in. And there's no like set pathway where it's like you go to college and you say, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." Well, you go do this school and then you go and do that school and then you take this test and you do this. Like it's very much, step by step. It's incredibly hard, but step by step. And I just felt like being a business owner seemed really like the pathway seemed very just kind of like vague, and that scared me.
Yeah.
And I also kind of feel like we've talked about this too. Like, I felt like if you made good grades in high school, like you were supposed to go into the medical field.
Yeah,
Like that just kind of was what people did.
I feel like that's, I don't want to say the stigma, but probably the norm.
Yeah.
Or, where if you don't feel like you have to, then it's highly encouraged,
Hmm.
which makes sense. I mean, every parent, everybody seeing a kid who is pretty intelligent, like they're like, well, use that gift that you have. Use it, like go and do something that's helping change people's lives, and
Hmm.
also maybe be able to do it while it's making a lot of money along the way. And
Yeah.
so I do think that a lot of people, if they score good on the ACT, SAT, and have a good GPA, they're probably, at least where I was at too, a lot of it was what aspect of the medical field do you want to go in, or what type of engineer do you want to be?
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, that's kind of how I felt. And all through college, I just felt very like unsure. And it never felt right. And I did change my major twice, which is not surprising based on those feelings. But I
And
started
you're
out,
definitely not the only one that's done that.
yeah, yeah, started out pre-pharmacy. And the more I thought about that, the more I was like, don't love that. Because I really like, we talked about this last week, I really like to be just creative and interact with people and stuff like that. So, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should be like a physician's assistant. Like, I get to interact with people and, whatever. So, changed my major to exercise physiology. And I remember sitting in anatomy and the professor telling the most gory story of a car accident that he and like what the bones did. And I was just like, I need to get out of here. Like, I wanted to pass out. And that is relevant for later on in the story because my blood pressure will drop
Yeah.
with not much of a trigger.
It can be dangerous, I guess,
Yeah.
because sometimes the worst that I feel, not all the time, but this is outrageous to be able to say this. Somehow through as much chemo as I've been through, all that stuff, I've never thrown up. And I don't,
A
okay, well,
couple times.
no, well, there's once, but
Twice.
we'll have to get back to that.
That's a story for another
But
day.
yeah, I could be proven wrong as we go. One of them was completely out of my control. If there was a second time, then
Yeah.
you know,
Anyways.
we'll dive into that anyway. But regardless of if it was zero, one, or two times, whenever I start to feel bad,
Yeah. I take it harder.
yeah, sometimes it can affect you worse than it's affecting me. So
Yeah.
it's
So, anyways, all that to say, I had no business being in the medical field. Thankfully, I learned that sophomore year of college and not, 2 years down the road.
yeah.
Um, and so then I switched to social work because I was like, there's a lot you can do with social work, still kind of interacting with people and still kind of dealing with the medical field in a sense. Like, I really enjoyed psychology, sociology. My minor is actually in sociology and just kind of like how people interact with each other. And I was like, I could go and do therapy, I could do counseling, like, all this stuff. But I like would not major in business because I was just like, I'm not gonna, that's not gonna happen. Like, I'll get a business degree and not be able to use it because, like, I just didn't have faith in myself, like, that I could do something so scary. But it was just always in the back of my mind, like, that would be my dream and that maybe one day somehow I'd get to do that. Like, I never, like, let it go. It was always in my mind. And so crazy enough, the day before I graduated, you made your major league debut the day before I graduated. So I went to Baltimore on a Friday or a Saturday.
It was actually a Saturday because you graduated the next
Yeah.
day and I got to come
Yeah, so I went to
like the
Baltimore on a
way the timing
Saturday,
was.
watched her major league debut, and then you drove back to Morgantown, West Virginia, because I went to West Virginia University, go Mountaineers. You drove to Morgantown and you watched me walk in my graduation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I graduated college and went full into baseball life. Just full baseball life, which we talked about last week was kind of hard for me. And I think I'd mentioned last week too that I had just been praying that God would give me something. And he just kept saying no. He kept saying nothing.
I was gonna ask, do you feel like as that was happening, do you feel like that was a no, a not yet, or just like silence?
I just felt like he wasn't giving me anything.
Okay.
And the more that I have learned, these past few years, I have learned so much. Like, you cannot rush God's timing.
No. You can try.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna work, and it ain't gonna like
So
it's only gonna make life maybe a little bit
it's
more
going to make life
difficult for
harder
you.
on you.
Yes.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how much you ask, how much you beg and plead. Obviously, he wants to know like the desires of your heart. I think he likes to hear what we want. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Oh, without a doubt.
he's our father. Like he wants to give it to us if he can, like if it
Hmm.
aligns with his plan. But yeah, I just kept asking and asking and trying to figure out like what is my purpose in life, what is my role, like, and I just was not getting anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like it was something that you and I had been praying on a lot. Like, if you remember during that time, like, because I was just feeling aimless. I remember we were apart. You were playing away somewhere, and I was at home.
Yeah.
And I had started working at Lizard Thicket Boutique in 2018 as a sales associate because I wanted to have a job in the off season, and I was like, this is like my dream job, working in retail.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'll do this when we're home, November through January. And I also thought it would be nice too to just be in that setting, to learn and to hopefully one day open my own boutique.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember, so the owner of Lizard Thicket at that time, which she's just like a boss, like she owned 3 locations and I own one and I can barely survive. So like I don't know how she did it, but
I guarantee there was a lot of caffeine and not a lot of sleep.
she's amazing. But she had decided that she wanted to sell the Greenville location for the exact reasons that I'm saying. Like it's a lot.
Hmm.
And I don't remember exactly when. I want to say it was like prior to COVID that she was starting to think about selling her Greenville location. And I kind of remember hearing about it, and I think she like mentioned it to me.
Hmm.
And I was just kind of like, yeah, yeah, whatever. I could never do that.
Yeah, because that was when it initially. I remember when you came home from work one day and you told me that
She had mentioned
she
it.
kind of not really approached you about it, but just kind of like in passing, kind of
And
said
I
something.
think we might have been texting. Yeah.
Because
This
I
was post COVID. I
yeah,
remember when.
yeah. Well, I remember just asking, "What do you think about it? Like, is this something that I know maybe you
Yeah.
want to do?
And
Like,
I was
does
like, oh
this
my
make
gosh, I could
sense?"
never do this.
Yeah.
I was like, I could never own my own like location. Like, no, like there's no way I could do this. And I don't remember if she mentioned it again, but whatever happened, it's all such a blur now. I guess I had it on my mind.
Yeah.
And we had both been praying about it, and you might remember this better than me, but I called you when you were away.
Yes.
And I said, this is going to sound crazy, and I know this is coming out of nowhere.
That's good. Whenever you hear that to start your phone call,
I mean,
you know
we
it's
hadn't even
gonna.
talked about this. I was like, but I think I want to buy Lizard Thicket.
No, no, no. You didn't say I think. You said I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna buy Lizard
Yeah,
Thicket.
and that it wasn't in a way of just like, man, this is how it's gonna be necessarily. Just like I don't know how, I don't know why exactly, or like what it's gonna look like, but I just
Yeah.
like somehow I'm gonna buy. I just know
Well,
I feel confident
yeah,
that I'm going to buy
that's right.
this.
That's right. Because I felt like it was just like, I feel like that this is exactly how God operates. It's like quiet, 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 boom, now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's exactly what happened with the store because I just felt like I woke up, it was on my mind,
yep.
and I felt so much peace and I felt so energized by the idea.
Hmm.
And there's just a feeling, I feel like when you've walked with God for a little while, you kind of know what I mean, where
Yeah.
you just know it's from Him.
Hmm.
Like it feels like He's standing right next to you. Like,
Well, and the timing of this is another way I feel like God
yeah.
operates. It was in a way that looking back now made no sense. In the time, we also thought this, but it made no sense
Well, and
timing wise.
what we were thinking was, I was like, it occurred to me because I was like, okay, well, Carly, the owner of the previous owner of Lizard Thicket, she didn't live local to Greenville, and so I was like, oh, like, well, she's not local to Greenville, so like I can be a baseball wife and do this.
Hmm.
Like, I'll be super present during the busy season and then go back and forth because I was doing that anyways. Like, I was visiting you and then going home and working
Yeah.
as a sales associate because it just made me so happy. Like, and I was like, we can do this. I was like, I
Hmm.
feel like I can do both because my whole thing the whole time was that I was going to wait until you retired from baseball
Yeah.
to do this. But something in me was just like, no, we can do both at the same time. So I remember you were like, okay, let's like think about this a little bit.
Well, because that phone call happened, I was in Miami.
No, you had been released from Miami. You were in Durham.
Yeah. So it was in that, September time of 2021 when I was not feeling good. Things weren't going good with baseball.
Yeah.
Like I said, the timing was not something that, on paper made sense. It wasn't something that really either of us looked at and said, like, this is just too perfect to miss. We were like, whoa, 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 okay, let's
And
talk this.
and she like Carly had not even brought it up to me recently. Like we had talked a few months prior, like she had mentioned it.
Yeah, I think that she might have had another person or two that was interested in
Yeah.
buying it, or was in talks with her or something. I don't
Yeah,
remember
it's
exactly.
so blurry, but
Yeah.
yeah. So you were like, let's think about this. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, let's think about it.
And I know with Devin when she said let's think about it, it's already been thought about.
So I was like, let me just go ahead and like reach out to Carly.
Yeah.
And I like texted her and we started talking a little bit and I called you back and I was like, so Carly's gonna come in from Atlanta and we're meeting in a couple days to talk about it. And you're like, okay.
Yep.
Which you were always like you've been so supportive through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like you've been the
Well,
biggest cheerleader.
I think because I've always known how good you would be at it if you had that opportunity, and so when it seemed like things were coming together, um, it really wasn't a difficult decision for me to say like, okay, yeah, this is something I think that you're going to excel at, and I've always said that if you had that chance, then I'd love for you to be able to pursue it,
Yeah.
and it's been your dream, like you said, since you were, I mean, in diapers pretty much. So, you know, it's something that was very easy for me, I feel like, to be supportive of. And like I said, we're the type of people that, you know, we jump in, like we think through things. We're very calculated, not impulsive people.
Hmm.
But
Once
we
the calculations are made, we go for it.
yeah, I mean, we don't really hesitate, and sometimes that means it doesn't necessarily make sense. Like calculations uh, don't
Calculate?
always they do they do always calculate. They don't always give you exactly the outcome
Yeah.
or the output that you want.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you guys are listening to this and you know me personally, this is not a shocker to you that I'm about to make a Star Wars reference. For those of you guys that don't know me, there will be a lot more Star Wars references because, I mean, I could devote probably a whole podcast just to my interest
Yeah, so maybe we'll do
of
that down the
Star
road.
Wars. Yeah,
We'll,
but
we'll, we'll
anyway,
do
all
that
that to
later.
say, it's kind of like Han Solo, never tell me the odds. Like, you just have to have that chance. You just have to have that opportunity. And to circle it back, like, I always knew that if you had that, then you would do well. And I knew that you loved working there because you'd been there for years.
Hmm.
You knew the ins and outs of the store, the function, the workers. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so funny, like looking back, thinking about that first conversation I had with the previous owner, Carly, in a Barnes and Noble. And just the questions that I asked her, I did not have a diddly dang clue what I was doing, what I was getting into. I mean, it's just so funny looking back. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I remember I had like a little notebook and I had like 10 questions written down that I wanted to ask her.
Hmm.
But I remember after that meeting just being like, I want to do this. Like, I want to, like, let's get the ball rolling. And oh my gosh, I did not know what I was getting into trying to get a small business loan.
Yeah, well, because
Holy moly,
at that time it was
not easy.
well, it was post
Yeah.
COVID and it was far enough. after COVID to where, the, what's the right word? The assistance programs that were kind of in
Yeah.
place had handed out a lot of
So they
things
were
to,
not giving out small business
right.
loans,
They
really.
had done everything they could, or a lot of stuff, should I say,
Yeah.
um, to help keep small businesses going. And so the last thing on their mind was, hey, let's create more of these right now.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time to get that loan.
Yeah. And so I had no clue what I was doing, but Carly connected me with someone, with a contact to talk about getting a small business loan. So I got on a Zoom call with this lady. She told me everything that I needed to do. I needed to get an LLC. I needed to write a business plan. I needed all this paperwork, yada, yada, yada. So I'm literally like getting off of the phone call, Googling what is a business plan. Like, I don't know what a business plan is. So I like bought this thing that like shows you how to make a business plan and like step by step. And I mean, this is how little I knew. So she's like, okay, you need to make an LLC. So I'm like, great, let me make an LLC. I name it Lizard Thicket Greenville. You can't do that in a franchise.
Yeah.
Lizard Thicket already exists.
Yep.
This is how little I knew, guys. So that was like a major thing. That was like, I mean, that was one of the last holdups that drug out this process because it is so hard to get the name of your LLC changed.
Yeah.
So once I had made that mistake, because you have to hear back from, is it the IRS?
Yeah. They have to essentially
Approve
approve
it.
it.
Yeah. And I
And
couldn't get, I was calling them, I was begging them. I was like, this is the only thing that's holding me. Like, because we were like a year, almost a year into the process. Well, not a year, like
no, I think you ended up getting it. It was about,
8 months or something,
I was six,
something like
six,
that.
8, yeah, somewhere in there.
But everything was done. And what was holding me up was that I didn't have a name.
Yep.
And also, kind of jumping ahead too, I got denied twice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like presented my business plan, gave them all my paperwork, like talked to these people, and they were like, I'm so sorry, but the answer is no. And I was like, well, this is over. Crushed. I mean, you remember, I was crushed.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted this so bad. And I mean, I had to have a loan. Like,
Hmm.
and I remember talking to the CEO of Lizard Thicket and also Carly, and they were like, a lot of times, like, what they want to see is, do you have like endurance and do you have grit? Like, are you
Hmm.
going to try again? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you've got to have a certain type of personality to own a business
Hmm.
because it's up to you. If it fails or succeeds, like, no one's doing it for you.
Hmm.
What are you going to do when it gets hard?
And the bank just wants to make sure they can get their money back.
Exactly. Like, are
They
you the
they
type of
don't care
person
if
that
you're
can run a business and pay this
yeah, well, quite
loan?
honestly, they don't care if your business crashes to the ground.
Yeah.
They just want their money back with interest so that they can say, okay, we made a couple bucks off
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah.
that's just the reality sometimes of the business world.
Yeah. And I was like, well, let me try again. Tweaked my business plan, reached out to my contact to like, please reconsider me. She was like, okay. So I did my whole pitch again, denied me again. And at that point, I was just like so invested. I was crushed, but that only lasted like a day
Yeah.
because I was like, I am getting this loan.
Yeah.
I'm getting this loan. Like, I will bother this person until
Yeah.
until I like get this loan. Like, I wanted it so bad, and I felt like God was so behind it.
Hmm.
Which is why when I got denied, I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, if this is something that God wants for me, like, shouldn't He be opening doors?" But like, that's not the way that He always operates.
Yeah.
I feel
And
like more so He just was like the wind behind me to like keep going.
yeah.
Like,
And also, as you're talking through that, like, what was going on during that time with me medically,
hmm
that actually was God operating in his perfect timing because I mean I was banged up at that point.
yeah,
Like if you would have gotten approved for that loan the first time, not only would you have entered in probably at the busiest season of the year, literally like the busiest month of the year,
hmm
I probably would have been like you. I mean, I wasn't in good shape.
No.
I handled, that treatment well and everything, but I feel
Well,
like you would have had so much going on that knowing you, I think it would have been more stress than like
yeah,
enjoyment and
absolutely.
excitement.
And another thing too is your first chemo regimen that you did completely wiped out your immune system, which chemos, do that. But we were right off of the tail end of COVID, so we were scared to death.
Hmm.
Like we were already scared of COVID and add cancer with no immune system.
Yeah.
So we really like isolated ourselves during that. Was it 9 weeks?
Yeah, it was 9 weeks of, treatment,
Yeah.
quote unquote. But I think we kind of, that last week was still like a recovery week. My numbers were still low, so it kind of stretched a little bit even further than that. But we had to be pretty locked down
Hmm.
for those 9 weeks.
And I remember you like laying on the couch and me sitting on my computer working on my little business
That's
plan for
right.
hours.
That's right.
Because I mean, that thing was not easy to, that took some time.
Oh yeah, I mean
Because I basically
it
had to
was long.
convince the bank, like, this is why you need to, like, give me money for this business. Like,
Hmm.
on the, after a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was not easy by any means. So I was like putting my heart and soul into it to like really convince them that like this was a good plan. Um, and I think like even that was so perfect because I wasn't going in and like working during that time because I wasn't around, I didn't want to be around the public.
Hmm.
And I would probably would have lost my mind, honestly, like just dealing with the pain that we were dealing with and not being around anyone like that. Working on that business plan was such an outlet for me.
Yeah.
And I think that was just God's plan and God's timing, even though it was really, really discouraging
Yeah.
when they told me no.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Like everything that we have going on right now, like
Hmm.
why can't something just go right? Like
Yeah.
why does it all have to be so hard? But um
Well,
yeah.
and I mean, as you were talking through that though, like, I mean, I want to take a second because I feel like, with everybody hearing Devin's story and knowing that, I played Major League Baseball as well, like, those are big dreams, big
Hmm.
aspirations. And we've both experienced a lot of discouragement along the way,
Yes.
whether it be performance, whether it be people. Um, Not to say that there hasn't been encouragement and encouraging people along the way, but I know that as we're talking through this, somebody listening to this right now is going through a very similar position where they have a dream or they have something that they're working towards. And I just want to take a second. I feel like it's important for us to focus on, not for a super long time, but just to address that. And, if that is you, if like you're hearing that and saying like, wow, I resonate with this or I resonate with that, like just understand that what you're going through is very normal. And the people that you can look at and say, wow, like I'm so happy they've done that. Like I want to be able to say that I've done that one day, whatever it may be, whatever it may look like. It's so cliche to say, but like chase those dreams. Like
Hmm.
you don't have to do that in a way, that like we were talking about is necessarily impulsive. And, you hear these stories of people who are living in the worst conditions and now they're living in, multi-million dollar mansions with multi-billion dollar bank accounts. Like those are not always the stories, that are going to be said in the end.
And I don't think that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
mean, it's
that's what I was
honestly
about
it's
to say.
about the journey. Like we talked about this like I am so glad that when I'm old, I'll be able to say I did it. I
Yeah.
tried it. Like
Regardless
even if
of what
it all
happens.
failed, like I'm so thankful for like the experience, no matter how it ends up. Like,
Hmm.
and at that time, I had no idea how it was going to end up. Like, I'm proud of myself that I tried. Like,
Yeah.
same thing for you. You didn't know you were going to get to the major leagues,
Hmm.
and the minor leagues is a grind. But how cool is it for you to say like you had that journey?
Yeah. So all that to say, regardless of where the end destination is, just keep fighting through it, keep persevering, keep pushing. It's the last thing that you want is like Devin saying, you don't want to look back at any point in your life and say, "Dang, like what if I would have done this? I wish I would have done this when I had the opportunity," because like there's never really going to be a clear cut or clean time to pursue these dreams, to pursue these passions. So I think Devin said this earlier, like you'll get out of it what you put in, but if it's something that you care about and you really want to do, go for it. Like
It's so funny because today a girl came into the store that I've just met through her shopping there, and she's trying to open up her own online boutique.
mhm,
And she walked in. I hadn't seen her in a couple months, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what's going on? Like where are you at? Yada yada yada." And she was like really discouraged
mhm,
because she was like, "I just can't get all the pieces together.
yeah,
Like it's
it's hard.
so much." And she was like, "And it's like there's no like, you know, 5-step plan to starting a
Mhm,
business, and how you do this and that and this." And she was like, "What do I do?"
yeah,
And I was like, literally one foot in front of the other.
yeah,
Like, just accomplished it. Like, what can
mhm,
I accomplish today? Like, that's,
mhm,
I mean, we have talked about this from the time I step foot into Lizard Thicket at whatever time in the morning, it varies,
mhm. It does.
to the time I leave. I am non-stop.
Yeah.
Just accomplish, 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 put out this fire, accomplish that, do this. Like, I mean, if you were to be like, how do you get everything done in a day? Like, what's your plan? No plan. Like, I literally just accomplish what I can accomplish. Like,
Yeah. But
and
you have a loose plan. I would
yes,
say like you
but it's
you
just a bite at a time.
right. Well,
Like,
you go in saying like I need to do X, Y, Z,
yeah,
and then you start out
yeah.
and you're
But my
like,
to-do list every day is like 50 things long.
right. So
So,
you know, don't go in totally blindly and just be like, all right, well today's gonna work out some
what I'm
it,
saying is you
yeah,
know what you need to get. Like, if you
yeah,
look in front of you, there's something you can accomplish in that moment,
yeah,
and
yeah.
just do that. Like, I know that sounds super cliche, but when after I got off the phone with the Small Business Association, my first step was to Google what is a business plan.
Yeah.
That was something that I could accomplish, is
Hmm.
figuring out what a business plan
That's
is,
right.
and then figuring out what can help me write it. And so, I mean, I don't know. I think we always just want to go from, and again, this is our culture, like fast now. I mean, even just thinking about food these days, like it's all instant.
Hmm.
I don't cook, and it's because I don't like the process of it.
Yeah.
Like I want to be hungry and then eat the food. So I mean, I just feel like that's what our culture preaches, is like if you want something, you should have it right now.
Hmm.
But I feel like the best things, it's a process to get there.
Yeah.
And if you just put one foot in front of the other, I think I even said that in my Instagram caption when I announced that I was becoming the owner of the store. Like, you will be surprised what you can accomplish by putting one foot in front of the other.
Hmm.
And I became the owner May 3rd of 2022.
Yep.
So I just a few months ago had my 2-year anniversary, and I'm learning something new every day. I still love it so much.
Yeah.
Like, so much.
Hmm.
It challenges me every day. It makes me sad, and it makes me happy, and it makes me energized, and it makes me exhausted, and
And I'm on this emotional ride as well,
yeah.
with absolutely nothing to contribute except just my support, I
If
guess.
you own a small business or you know someone who owns a business, like you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a roller coaster. And I remember my very first meeting at the corporate office, the CEO said, retail and owning a business is like a roller coaster. Sometimes you're at the top and you think, I'm going to be a millionaire. This is going to be the most successful business ever. And then the next minute you're at the bottom and you're thinking, well, I'm going out of business. I'm going to have to move in with my parents. Like, and I'm so glad she told me that. And I think about it all the time because it's so true.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's not just in business, that's like life.
Yeah.
Like, you're at the bottom, like, you're going to go back up. You're at the top, you're not going to stay there.
Yeah.
And I think just enjoying that ride, like it's taken me some time to learn how to enjoy that ride and to not freak out
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of my story.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've just taken up all of our time.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's still, I feel like, with that, so much more to
There is a
talk
lot
about
more.
with Lizard Thicket. So I'm sure that that will come up, as we go through everything. But I do know last week we left off at the emergency room with you guys, and our plan was to go in and talk about Lizard Thicket and see where that took us today. And we went deep into it. And Devin told you all about it, and it was great. So we're gonna pick up next week where we ended last week at the emergency room in terms of the cancer aspect of everything. Um, but we'll go through diagnosis, treatment, like Devin was saying. A lot of this lizard thicket early on process of
Was
buying.
happening at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of overlap, and that's why we felt it was important to give that background, give that layout, so that as we're talking through things, it kind of made sense timeline wise and kind of meshed a little bit. So, um, I mean, if you have any questions, one thing I was going to say that I didn't quite get around to is uh, one important thing I think is having a mentor, if you can find a mentor in the space that you're interested in, because somebody that's been there and walked the road that you're wanting to walk, it's great for them to tell you, here's where I screwed up, and you could probably
Hmm.
save a little bit of time. Here's the things that I did good that can save you a little bit of time. So if anybody is going through a similar process, whether it be with a medical journey, whether it be with acquiring a small business, or anything in between. We want to impart the things that we've seen. Like, if we can, as I've said before, if we can be helpful in any way, then just let us know. And that leads into everybody's favorite part, where you get to hear about the rating and reviews and all that stuff. It really helps us in terms of visibility. So a lot more people potentially get to hear this. And so if you've benefited from this, tell a friend, rate, review. We look at it. We're not just letting
And I
these
really
things
do
slide.
want you guys to answer the questions.
Yeah,
I
please
want
do.
to read them. I think that'd
And
be so fun.
yeah, yeah. I almost think that it would be kind of fun if we did potentially, in those situations, if we did like some type of award for like the.
Or maybe we can read some of them off next
Yeah,
week.
yeah, we'll incorporate it for sure. This is the first time that we've done that, so we'll kind of learn from it. And
Yeah.
like I said, we do look at this, we do pay attention, so I'm sure there'll be some laughs and we'll read them off. But um, yeah, you guys have been great. We've really been blown away by the support so far. Thank you guys so much for joining us each week. I've had, some friends, some people saying that they look forward to Tuesdays knowing that the podcast comes out, and that means the world to us. We're so thankful. We're so appreciative that you guys are interested in this and along for the ride with us. So we we want to keep rolling, and that's our plan, and we can't do it without you guys. So thank you guys so much. And with that, we will let you get on and hopefully have an incredible rest of the week. But I'm David,
And I'm Devin.
and this has been the 41 Life. Thanks, guys.
See y'all next week.